Shalom. I'm Rabbi Nathan Davidovich speaking to you on behalf of the webyeshiva.org, speaking to you from Efrat, Israel. This week we have two different Torah readings, Tazria and Metzora. I'm going to talk about Parsha Metzorah, and we learn the lesson from this Torah reading that life and death are in the power of the tongue. The Parsha Metzorah talks about a disease which is incorrectly translated as leprosy. It is not leprosy, but a spiritual disease manifesting itself on the body. And our Chazal, the sages, tell us that this disease, which is called tzarat, comes about as a result of Lashon Harah, speaking negative things about one another. And Lashon Harah, the sages teach us, is one of the greatest sins that one can do, and there's really no remedy to undo the damage that is caused by it. Lashon Harah, speaking about people, seems to be de rigueur, the common parlance of people around the world. Pick up any newspaper, look at demonstrations on the street about anything, and you see accusations being made about people, calling people criminals, calling people murderers, calling people thieves, calling people a fraud, without any factual basis, just spreading gossip, spreading these evil lies. That's what Lashon Harah is. Lashon Harah is talking ill about somebody else with no basis, no reason for it, and no basis in it. My wife's mother, Olav Shalom, Joni Satz, used to say that people who have nothing to talk about, who aren't smart enough to talk about something, talk about other people. And it's a challenge to all of us to guard our tongues. And let's look at what the Parsha says. In the very first part of this Torah reading, it says, Zos tia Torah ha-Metzora. This will be the law of the person who is afflicted with tzaras. But Yom ta'araso v'huva al-kohen, on the day of his purity, and you bring him to the kohen. And it's interesting, proof that this is not a physical affliction is that a doctor wasn't called to look at the manifestation of this illness on somebody's skin, but the Kohen, the high priest, the spiritual leader, was called. And the person wasn't proclaimed to be a person with tzaras until the Kohen said so. It was a typical spiritual thing. There's a lot of commentaries on this, but a beautiful commentary was in the Dat Zakenim, which is from the Tosfos in about the 1600s or thereabouts. He says, when it said, the Torah says, Zos tia ha-Metzora. He says, this very word Metzora has a hint why such person has been afflicted with this disease. It's because he badmouthed fellow Jews. And he points out, the Dasakanim point out that the word Metzora is a combination of a motzi shem ra. He called somebody by a bad name. King Solomon, in his wisdom, referred to the same sin in the book of Mishli, of Proverbs, when he said, Mavos v'chayim biyad lashon, death and life are within the power of the tongue. Death is liable to follow abuse of the power of speech, whereas life is at the disposal of people who meticulously observe the Torah and study it. He points out that Torah is the remedy for which this sin of Lashon Harah can be atoned for. And it's known as Eitz Chaim, the tree of life. And King Solomon refers to the tree of life. He says, Marpei Lashon Eitz Chaim. The tree of life can heal the harm caused by abusing your power of speech. And the guilt, the sin of Lashon Harah, of evil gossip, is considered by the sages to be greater than that of shedding somebody's innocent blood, murdering somebody. He said, when one does Lashon Harah, you've killed not only one life, but you've killed 3 people. You have killed the person saying it, the person who it's said about, and the person who hears it. And this is why the Talmud says this is greater than murder, incest, or idolatry. The Kli Yakar, on the sentence that says, V'tziva HaKohen, the Kohen will command, L'blakach, L'matahir, Shtei Tziporim, Chayotor. He says, the priest orders that 2 live birds should be brought for one to be purified. And the Kli Yakar really goes to great lengths explaining the causes of tzaras from the sins of evil speech, arrogance, and desire for wealth. And he quotes the Midrash Rabbah, which has a very interesting story about a peddler who was going around from town to town. And he would say, who wants to buy an elixir of life? So a crowd gathered around him, of course. Everybody wants life. So at this time, Rabbi, a great Torah scholar, was sitting and teaching in his base medrash. And he said to the peddler, he says, come up here and sell it to me. The peddler says, you don't need it, nor do people like you. So Rabbi insisted. So the peddler came to him. And he took out a wrapped book of Psalms and showed him the book in Tehillim that says, Mi ha'isha chafetz chayim, Metzora Lashon Harah. He says, who is the man who desires life? Guard your tongue from evil. And Rabbi Yanai said, even King Solomon says, somebody who guards his mouth and his tongue guards his soul from troubles and guards his soul from having this disease of tzaras. So Rabbi Yanai says, all these days I was reading this sentence, but I really didn't know the simple meaning until this peddler came and informed me. The peddler was saying that a person of Rabbi Yanai's status doesn't need to be concerned about this because he's living a pure life. Rabbi Yanai says, yes, especially those who think they're living a pure life really have to be aware of the sin of Lashon Harah. And the sentence says, in terms of determining whether a person has Lashon Harah or not, he says, it says, V'roah Kohen, the Kohen will look at the tzaras on the skin, and then when he sees this, he will look at it again and pronounce him as being possessing tzaras and therefore being unclean. And the scholar Rabbi asks, why does the Kohen have to say twice? Why does it he say raw of a raw? So he says, before proclaiming somebody is tamei or not good, take another look. Take a good look. Don't rely on your first impression. Look again, maybe you'll change your mind. Maybe you'll find a way to judge your fellow man favorably. And he brings to prove this point the Midrash that says, when Moses came down with the tablets from heaven, the first set of the tablets, and God said to him, he said, look at your people. Your people have made a golden half. He didn't break the tablets at that point. He basically said, he's showing a lesson to the children of Israel, don't believe anything until you see it yourself. And he didn't go until he came close to the camp and saw it, that he then threw the luchos down. And it wasn't that he didn't believe in God, but he's teaching a lesson. Don't believe something that somebody says unless you know it for yourself. And even then, look and see if your first impression is correct. We all have an obligation in this world to guard our mouths. Our mouths are powerful. Speech does kill. We've seen too many examples of it. Hate speech, defamatory speech. We all need to pay attention. And if you're sitting with somebody, they start talking Lashon Harah, you should stop them in a nice way. Stop them, because you don't want to hear it either. Let's remember this and try to bring us together in a world where we can look for the good points of somebody, not for the bad. Thanks for listening on behalf of the webyeshiva.org. I wish everybody a wonderful Shabbat.